Namaste, viewers. I am Vibhuti Jha. This is Jaipur Dialogue USA. Let's have our conversation. Before I start, just as always, I request you to please like, subscribe, and support our channel and our efforts. Give your feedback. We value your thoughts. Now, this is very important. Today is 28th of August. It's important to bear in mind that it appears Hindu hate has gone mainstream in America. Now, Newsweek magazine reported that a half monkey and half human huge statue attracted conservative backlash. That was one. And number two, after the famous collapse of SB 403 on caste in California, the the avid Hindu hater professor, and I hate to call her professor, Andrew Trushke of New Jersey Rutgers University, has come out with her own interpretation of caste and her own survey of caste, and she is starting a new movement in New Jersey Rutgers University. Now, these are not isolated incidents. Last week I had done a conversation with you in which I said that Hindu Americans, Indian Americans had achieved notable success, notable success in putting back, thwarting, and dismantling several several anti-Hindu, anti-India activities in America. We had succeeded. To name them quickly was the famous dismantling Hindutva conference. Remember that? We dismantled the promoters conference totally. Then we had one over the swastik being made as a hate symbol in New York. We got over that. Then we defeated SB 403 caste. Then we won over the AB 3027 on clubbing India with other countries with a reference to all the kinds of political interference. And then there was the famous, what you call Ram Mandir, float in India Day parade in New York. Now, I had also warned at that time, the enemies of India are way well too organized, and they will not stop at that because they will continue to poke. They will continue to poke, they will continue to irritate us, and they will continue their effort to undermine the Indian American, Hindu American community systematically. And that effort is back. We have to remember this in its entirety. We have to remember this in its entirety for the simple reason that for us, this is a dharmic war. We are fighting the adharmic forces. And to that end, it is very critical that we keep our eyes open, ears alert, and mind sharp. Drop the egos, drop the differences, and combine and come together to contest these nefarious elements. Now, why I mentioned that Hindu hate has gone mainstream? Because the Ram Mandir float that was coming in this entire thing, in the Republic Day celebration, it was a collusion of CAIR, CAIR. And I had then said, I only wish CAIR cared for other religious observations as well. But they don't. They care for their own care. Number two is the fact that this particular thing was also led by Indian American Muslim Council because they were falsely, wrongfully, and viciously maligning Bhagwan Ram by saying that Ram Mandir is a symbol of Islamic hate. Nothing could be far from truth. And I reiterate that the entire our truth about Ram, Sri Ram, and that entire saga of Ramayana is maybe a mythology for others, but that's our truth. Because this particular entire history happened much before other religions were even conceived and thought of. So those people who made it a date specific establishment of their practices, before that, life didn't exist. God didn't matter. But only then, only from that time onwards, all these became important. This is very significant because our way of life has existed, it predates all the established faiths. And that's the reason they are concerned about the rise and becoming more aware of our way of life, which is getting more and more accepted. So think about it. Indian American Muslim Council, CARE, and there is a group called Hindus for Human Rights. That name makes me laugh and cringe because that group entirely denies human rights to Hindus, but is named Hindus for Human Rights. Think the vicious way they play with words. This is the way we have to be careful. Now, one thing which we know, and every Indian knows, the activities, thanks to technology, have really become very charged up now. Hindus are very well, forming groups, whether it's on WhatsApp and other places, they are coming together. They are not enamored or moonstruck by the fact that a Hindu priest performed invocation at the Democratic National Convention that happened a few days ago in Chicago. Yeah, a lot of people said, oh, this is the first ever time a Hindu priest has done the invocation. Believe it or not, I was not smitten by it. I was not jumping over the cloud. Oh my God, a Hindu priest is doing an invocation. We totally understood this was a cosmetic exercise. There was no real substance to that. Because if there was substance to that, then you wouldn't see this government sending its ambassadors to in the United States from United States to India to interfere in the domestic election matters. But that's a separate conversation we will have separately. But this is important. Hindu hate has gone mainstream. Newsweek magazine highlights that conservative religious fanatics were chanting, cursing, and bemoaning the opening of a half animal, half monkey, half Hindu statue in Texas. And I was very interested in one thing. When I was going through the comments made by people, I also recognized that some non-Hindu, non-an American had made a comment. You guys are cowards. Texas is pro-gun place, is a Second Amendment state, and it's a freedom of religion state. Where was your protest against that calumny? Think about it. They were challenging us. That where was your coordinated effort other than commenting about it, and bemoaning the entire situation? And the pictures that I saw, it was also full of many Indian converts to Christianity, also doing cursing Hindus. This is what is important. They were giving abuses and they were cursing. Now, somebody will say, oh, that's all rubbish. They did not mean it. But this is a significant story, and this comes right on the heels of or alongside Trushke's caste attack again back on India and Hindus. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very important. This is election year. The Democratic Party has to become very careful because more than 80% Indian Americans and Hindu Americans blindly support the Democratic Party. They are taking us for granted. Some of us are different. The rank and file of those who have seen through this facade and this taken for granted attitude of us as humans in this institution, in this country, people are noticing it and people are angry about it. So this is a message to mainstream American media and also the Democratic Party and the Republicans. Kindly make sure that we respect what we contribute to this country, both in money and our way of life. Remember one thing, and I want to say this with pride. Several years ago, a very important thinker had told me, we love you Indians as immigrants to this country. You are professionals, you are educated, you are hardworking, you are in the highest median income, you have family values, you take care of your children. You are not a law and order problem anywhere as an immigrant community, and you remain within yourselves and ask for nothing. That probably is the reason because we ask for nothing. A time has come that we get taken for granted. Our success has become a matter of envy and scorn, as if we are not involved in this country. Everybody knows that this 4 million people, Indian Americans in this country, contribute 6% of the tax collections in this country. The success rates of Indians is so high in whether in the corporate world, technology, banking, philosophy, and what have you. And this, some groups of people, these are the vicious groups of people who are targeting us because they are envious of our success. We can't allow that to happen. The group that contributes so handsomely to the American way of life with their own way of life is being targeted. This is incumbent upon American politicians. Be you may belong to any party, do not target, don't treat us as slaves and urchins, as if we are living off the life in America and American funds. We Indians, Indian Americans, are very proud of ourselves that we contribute handsomely to this community, this society, this country, or whichever state we live in, without causing any friction. Name an instance where Hindu Americans have been at the root cause of any problem, which is social, economic, political, or otherwise. This is critical for us. And I want to say this: when Newsweek begins to cover in opening up of a huge temple symbolizing, respecting, accepting Sri Hanuman, who we value so much for the values that he lived with, not because of what it is, because the values that Sri Hanuman showed towards the Sri Bhagwan Ram. This is a truth of Hindu way of life. If you cannot appreciate it, do not denigrate it. That's the issue that I have before the American people, the American politicians, and American media. Remember, you use the words guru, mantra, pandit remarkably in a frivolous manner in your television channels. These words mean a lot. If you had, I would urge all of you, try using, instead of guru, tell them the apostles. Instead of mantra, talk about gospels. Then we will see how wonderful it will sound again. But you use our words to demean us. The time has come to stop all of it. And now that Newsweek magazine talks about this, I'm 100% sure this becomes a global issue. Maybe Newsweek has falling circulation. They needed some controversy to bring about a story. The newspapers thrive, magazines thrive on controversies. This is a controversy because it is insulting Hindus and Indian Americans, Hindu Americans and Indian Americans. We must not take that insult lying low. This needs to be protested. This needs to be contested. And this needs to be told that you cannot and shall not ever insult our deities and our elements that we value so much in our life. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't take it lightly. There is one lesson which I have learned from Mahabharata and Gita, studying them, reading them. I may not know the quotation by my in my memory, but I do learn the lessons. And what lesson I learned was that everything that you do in Mahabharata and Ramayana, no character has been ever called bad. No character has ever been called evil. But what was the underlying message? That you live and bear the consequences of your decisions and choices. Whether you were Bhishma Pitama, whether you were Dronacharya, or anyone in Mahabharata, or whoever they were in Ramayana, each one had to bear the consequences of the decisions and the choices they made. That's the issue which is confronting us Indians in this country today. The choices that we make, the decisions that we make to confront, challenge, contest, fight, or let it go. That will be consequence to that. With these words, I will say, as always, Satyameva Jayate, for truth to triumph, you and I have to stand up and fight for it. Otherwise, this will mean nothing. Thank you.